All I'm trying to do today is to plant the seed in your mind that you might need to look at this American dream in a different way. If you haven't had life show you just yet with this war and stuff going on and the inflation going up with these gas prices, all this stuff, if you haven't seen it for yourself firsthand yet, maybe you're on the other side of it. You have to do the right thing with your money, but you can't lie to this newer generation and say, why aren't you here just yet? Now, me per se, I'm asking you guys to do what's right for you right now. I'm asking you to spend frugally or live frugally and plan like you have no tomorrow. Not in scarcity mode, but just plan as though times will get tough. When problems arise and you're ready for them, they are only an inconvenience. But when problems arise and you're not ready for them, they become bigger than what you've hoped. They become bigger situations. And so what happens is we're living out our American dream, thinking that this is what we need to have, but we're really building our own prison. Now, I've seen this from many men here recently on social media. You really don't start to understand what life is and who you are until you're 40. I'll be 42 this year in a couple of months. But I agree with that. You really don't know what you don't know until you've had a little bit of life experiences. You got to have a little bit of life experiences to know, like, man, you know what? I messed up. I thought I knew what I was trying to do, but this ain't it. This American dream right here is not it. All I'm trying to do today is to plant the seed in your mind that you might need to look at this American dream in a different way. Hey, what's going on, friends and family? Welcome to another episode of Talks with Ken. This is the place that motivation lives, inspiration thrives, and personal growth resides. Hello, and welcome to the building, wherever you are. This is episode 15. We are on our way. We are steady moving. I'm so happy to be in the number yet again today. And I'm ready to have today's discussion. And thank you guys for all the likes, all the shares. Continue. Show me the love. I'll show it back to you. And we are getting ready to expound and grow the Talks with Ken community by adding another edition. And I can't wait to that. I'm super excited for it. I'm mentioning it to you guys again because it is my baby and a labor of love. And I can't wait to bring it to you guys here soon. I know there's been a lot going on. I've been watching a lot of the sports, the women's sports tournaments in NCAA college basketball. And I've been watching some of the males and I've been watching the men play as well. I hope you guys brackets win is busted up as what I heard a lot of other people's are. I didn't play one this year. I tell my sons I'm tired of giving to the needy. So today we're going to further more my sporadic type of conversations. And I think you guys have been thinking some of these same thoughts due to the feedback and the responses that I've been receiving for these posts. So without further ado, let me get on my soapbox a little bit today, okay? My random thought of the day. Are you tired of this American dream? Yeah, I say that. Boy, what I tell you, I think we all fell for it, y'all. We all fell for it. And again, I'm actually a millennial, which it don't feel like I'm a millennial, but they have me labeled as a millennial. I was born in 1984, and I believe millennials started at 1981. I feel like I'm not the silent generation, not the boomer generation, but I was around long enough to see what they kind of went through, meaning how they parented, how they went about their day-to-day life, the things that they had to endure, the hardships they had to face and overcome. I was literally getting to witness some of that. So some of that hardship, I got to bear witness to it. And I even kind of governed my life by it. And in short, I kind of got a backbone. Okay. Not saying the younger generation really don't, but if you just want to go back into it, just for the men's sake, every generation produces less testosterone than the generation prior. So, with that being said, I thought that I was in that wonderful generation, that lucky generation. And I'll go on record to say this. I know when I was little, and I'm talking to some of my guys, some of my friends or whatever, and we talk about the good old days when we were born and being young, being able to ride bikes outside, going to movie theaters, into the mall to play video games with coins. And that was a treat for the day. Or being able to stop at a convenience store on the way home from school every day. That was a treat. And Those wonderful moments, this generation has not been privy to. This generation has not been able to experience life on that type of level from all of the news stories and then the restrictions that we don't allow our kids to do. And some rightfully so. But my heart ache on that end. Yes, I am considered a millennial. And why am I harping on this so much? Because when we were growing up, we were taught to strive for that American dream. And we hear this in every motivational talk. We hear this in every TED talk. We got duped. We got duped. Life changes through every economic turn or downturn. Over the years, society has changed with the different leaders in our economic growth. Like General Ford or General Motors, you got the technology boom, got the AI craze, you got the crypto craze and stuff like that. All of these little things over our history has changed the way in which we live, changed the way in which individuals have to go to work, income family versus two income families now. And we're going to get into a little bit of that later. But all of these things have big bearings on how our economy operates as a whole. So, furthermore, are we tired of the American dream or consider the American dream? Meaning, our parents, we saw them want the nice automobiles, have we saw them wanting to have the nice house with the picket fence. We also saw them want to have a pool so they can cook out in the backyard, a bigger yard for the family to come congregate. The kids, the grandkids can go and run around the yards. That we saw, in which when we were growing up, those were our parents' goals and dreams. And what happened is we consumed those same goals and dreams. Now our parents like, well, you know what? We have this type of car. You're gonna have a better one. We have this type of house. You're gonna be living in a bigger one. All of those things were kind of imposed on us by our parents, but also society did us no favors. Same thing is it's easier to get a student loan than it was for us to get a first line of credit for our business. And that still is the case. But we are susceptible to our quote unquote dreams that we thought were really, really good dreams to have. Now, I'm not faulting anyone who still strives for the quote unquote typical American dream, but I'm just here to merely say that American dream might have to wear a new face based off of the economy and the economic times that we're in right now. Not to say that you can't have it if that's what you aspire to have. We might have to be more realistic in the time frame in which we're trying to obtain that. So don't go bunkers on not being able to have what you're saying you're trying to have in the next five years or so. Let's just say to be smart about it, be adults about it, you might have to extend that to 5 to 10 years. What does that American dream typically in detail? Number one, you find that right marriage partner. You find that right wife or husband. And what happens is I gotta have that nice ring, man. She gonna think I'm cheap. She gon' she gonna think that I ain't got nothing. And so I gotta make sure, I look the part. I gotta feel the role. I gotta make her feel like she's comfortable with marrying me. I'm taking her off the market, so it gotta look good. That ring gotta be top notch. I'm gonna share a little side story with you. When I proposed to my wife, my father-in-law talked some sense into me because I was going for a more expensive ring. And he said, now why would you want to go and do something like that? He told me that. Why would I want to go do something like that? Now, mother-in-law, she was a little different. She's like, oh, she's gonna love that ring. Oh, she's gonna love it. Right? That's what she was telling me. Then my father-in-law was like, no, she's gonna love you for you. And he taught me off the rope from getting this big, huge, extravagant ring to getting the one that I had then. Now, of course, since then she has been upgraded. And yes, she has been upgraded. Nonetheless, she was excited to have that ring that I gave her. And but yeah, getting back to my original point. When we are living the American dream, we think that we have to start our journey out on the right foot to present, air quote, to present ourselves in the best light. In doing so, we're doing what we're supposed to quote unquote be doing, living that dream. So we start our relationship off already in debt from our student loans if you didn't get a scholarship or nothing like that. And then you finding that right mate to propose, you give him and her that expensive, nice, extravagant ring that you probably couldn't afford to have payments on or something like that. Because again, you are just now probably getting out of college. So you got student loan debt, you got a ring, and now what happens next? You gotta have this nice fancy wedding. Not just a nice fancy wedding, man. You could have went to the courthouse. You could have did something small, right? Thank God I got married years ago. Yeah, and prices were much lower than what they are now because I was all up in arms from what we had to pay for our wedding way back when. Now, the American dream. Let's continue. So we've gotten college debt, student loan debt. We've got that ring or rings for him and her during a wedding. We got that nice, extravagant wedding that we're paying for. That's for us, but we're paying for it. Then what happens next? We get a house, we have kids, and now pile on the babe. We need a bigger car. We need fancier car. We need clothes for the kids. We got to pay for daycare for the kids. Oh, and I'm sorry, the kids want a pet. And my joke with the pet, I just told my coworker the other day, pets are for rich people. I'm sorry. Pets are for rich people. We did the fish. They're still maintenance. We've done three dogs, but we still have one right now, going on 7 years old, a Roddy, which I love her to death. But I'm gonna tell you, she stayed in the vet more than all four of us human beings in the house go to the doctor or have to go to the doctor. I know she's in the vet every quarter. I don't know what it is about these pure breeds, but they gonna be in the vet way more than you want. I have no idea what that consists of. No, nonetheless, all of these are bills. And so what happens is we're living out our American dream, thinking that this is what we need to have, but we're really building our own prison. We're really building our own prison until you get to know it. And I've seen this from many men here recently on social media. You really don't start to understand what life is and who you are until you're 40. And I'll be 42 this year in a couple of months. But I agree with it. You really don't know what you don't know until you've had a little bit of life experiences. You got to have a little bit of life experiences to know, like, man, you know what? I messed up. I oopsed up. I thought I knew what I was trying to do, but this ain't it. This American dream right here is not it. All I'm trying to do today is to plant the seed in your mind that you might need to look at this American dream in a different way. If you haven't had life show you just yet with this war and stuff going on and the inflation going up with these gas prices, all this stuff, if you haven't seen it for yourself firsthand yet, maybe you're on the other side of it. Maybe you like, you know what? I'm good. My life hasn't changed. Maybe you are in a small percent of individuals that can overcome these not even tumultuous times just yet, but see these hardships that most Americans have to live and deal with. Uh, and I want to say this too. What goes along with the American dream? What happens to all the stuff you've accumulated? Let me tell you what happens. It's nice at first, but I'm gonna tell you what happened. That car. Let's say, you get this big, nice, shiny SUV. Everything bigger in weight will cause more taxes, but that's phantom costs if you probably didn't think about it. You just think about, man, let me get this car payment. I got the space right now for these baseball bags, stuff like that. But you're not looking at what it really costs to keep that up. Bigger tires, more wear and tear on the road, so taxes go up. Now there's more electrical components in the car. Then don't let you have a Tesla. I know some individuals have Teslas. I know at least last year when I looked, those Tesla batteries, just to get them replaced, depending on what model it is, $9,000 to $22,000 just to get the battery replaced. And so these little things that we don't really think about when we're going through the process, but that's something that we end up having to pay for in the long run. And then what happens with the house? Everybody know what got to happen with the house. I mean, you got ACs that go out, roofing, you got hail storms that come to tear up your siding. You got to pay deductibles on it. Uh, Taxes continuously go up every year. I can't say anywhere that I've lived the taxes actually went down. They always creep the freak up. They always go up. I'm sorry. Wear and tear on certain flooring, wear and tear on the carpet. Then you throw in, I want to change out my decoration every season. That's a want. They ain't a have to, but that's a want. All of those are costs that you have to pay for in the wake of trying to have the American dream. I'm trying to help you define what is your dream, not the so called American dream. Now, I'm going to tell you this right now. Apologetically, I actually am blessed to be born in 1984 because, like I said, I'm not a boomer and I'm not in the silent generation, but I was able to capitalize on some of the market gains and I was able to capitalize on the real estate market multiple times. Before I even became an investor in the real estate market today, just by happenstance, I capitalized on that market years ago. And then, so what's the funny part? Why I just now said that, I remember something I seen on social media was like, parents are asking this generation, aren't you guys, having X, Y, and Z, having more kids? Why aren't you guys buying this type of house? And it was the response was like, you bought a house with a piece of bubble gum and a paperclip. And you sold it for $1 million today. That's what I'm talking about. The boomers had the wonderful chance of capitalizing on a good market. Now, they will tell you that we had to go through the recession as well. I got you. And then time had to work. And that's kind of what I am today. Time has to work. And even when we're going through this little tough time, there's a lot of good opportunities out there for individuals who are ready to partake and undertake on those opportunities. But like back what I said, I'm happy to be born in 1984 because I was able to utilize that good fortune just by happenstance. Before I even knew how. It's like, well, one day I was like, oh man, your house has $100,000 of equity in it. Oh, really? Okay, what is equity? I mean, that's really how it happened. That's really how it happened. Now, understanding that I had the good fortune to capitalize on that same thing the generation before me got to partake in was huge. And so now, why do I say all this? Why do I say that we need to redefine this American dream? It's because I, on here, try to get all of my viewers and listeners the opportunity to rise above survival. One of the things that I love so much about financial literacy was that everybody can play it. Everybody can play the game of finances, whether you have $100,000 in the bank or whether you have $10 in the bank. Everybody can play the game of percentages. So if you understand that you are only able to save 5%, spend 5%, invest 10%, whatever that may be. If you are able to do that, you can do that with a little bit and you can do that with a lot. But I see a lot of individuals that's trying to fake what's happening in the news today or in our economy at the gas pump, which you should give a reminder every single day. You should know that your life has to change just a little bit. Just a little bit. If you normally go on a trip to, I'm gonna say Colorado. If you normally go on a trip to Colorado every single year, maybe you want to bring that back. Let's go to Tennessee this year. I mean, shorten it up a little bit. You have to make some type of adjustment in your life when the economy is in no downturns. Not saying you have to stop what you're doing. I'm just saying slightly change or make modifications to your plans, just a little bit. And that's just one example. I'm trying to get my listeners to look at life in a different lens. If we can do that, we can win the long game. Now, why do I want to harp on this just now? Y'all, it's an order to everything. It is a order to everything, and parents are letting the kids lead the ship. And this is why I wanted to preface this conversation with that today. Is we have a little bit more understanding of how life works. We have lived at least if you're 30, you've seen at least minimum at least two downturns in our economy. All right. Some would like to say that's a pattern. All right, three is a pattern, maybe. But we've seen it, if we've seen it twice and we're pretty much about to see it again, if you've lived at least 30, 40 years, you've seen it. So if you understand that your kids have not been old enough to even understand what was going on if they seen it once, but you have. So what happens is you got to know order. You got to know time frames. You need to know what's possibly coming to your doorstep. And so you got to plan 5, 10, 15 years down the road. And if you plan those 5, 10, 15 years down the road, your actions that you do today is going to be easy. And then having those hard, tough conversations with your family, your spouse first, and then your kids, all that stuff is going to be easy. Like, we can't do this. We normally be able to do this, but we can't do this. You got to articulate it in a way that's going to be digestible by them, by your family. What do I mean by order is if you have that further knowledge and understanding about what's possibly to come. So you owe it to your family to do the right thing, to do the hard thing, right? And so, what is it? If we know a storm is coming, we're going to secure our shelter. We're going to put planks up to the windows. We're going to bring food into the storehouse. We're going to be more frugal with our money. We're going to watch where we go. All of that. We know that that's coming. We can't just be oblivious. Now, I get individuals that's going to say, well, you can't be scared to live. I'm not scared to live. And I don't want you to be scared to live. I just want you to be smart with the money and the resources that you currently have so you don't feel that heat. You need more rubber in between you and the road. That's all I'm trying to say is that you can still have those funds and joys, but you can't get things out of order just living for today and not expecting any kind of downturns tomorrow. Now, let me tell you why you need to start taking this more serious. If you've lived a little bit, you've probably seen your parents. If you're 30 in your 40s, you're probably seeing your parents retire now. Now, with that, they had pensions, they had newly 401ks, and they had some investments. They had real estate that they can leverage and they can sell and ride off into the sunset. But the way the economy is right now for individuals that are probably in their early 30s and under, you haven't seen a lot of those wonderful windfalls that your parents seen. So you're going about life kind of aimlessly and in a sense of naivety, thinking that you're just by happenstance gonna have those same fortunes. You're probably not gonna see security like your parents are being able to partake in. So you got to basically be your own security by doing the right things today. And there is a stat that says 7 out of 10 college grads don't even think that wealth is possible for them. That's staggering. And in addition to that, there will be lower economic mobility, which means that the younger individuals who are entering the workforce, due to the economic changes, will have a lesser chance of exceeding the incomes of the generation before. Now, what does that mean for the parents? So, where it got to be where I'm just going to ride off into the sunset and enjoy my retirement money, that same retirement money, if you don't parent well, if you don't set your security well, that burden can fall on your kids. And so your kids have this unrealistic expectation about what their life should look like at your age. They see that you're able to go on multiple trips, but they're not going to be able to go on multiple trips because of the the rising cost of inflation. Not only to say that, these are some of the hardships that this generation has had to deal with. Student loans, just the cost of education since the 1980s has gone up 300%. And couple that with wage stagnation and inflation, the rising cost of childcare, the rising cost of ownership, the rising cost of food. This generation is seeing a staggering amount of debt just to survive. I seen recently a news story that came on was mentioning that there was a staggering amount of individuals using credit cards to buy food just to survive. Food is a need. What I'm trying to get you guys to understand is that this newer generation, they're not going to have the same stepping stones or the same stepping blocks that the generation had before. They're not going to be able to capitalize on those markets that many of us were able to capitalize on back in 2008. And some had some potential good growth, including me, in 2020, just after COVID. But if you're just getting out of school during those times, you missed out on all of that because you were just trying to find a stable ground to stand on, and you didn't get to see a lot of those gains that many came before you. You can't lie to this newer generation and say, why aren't you here just yet? Now, me per se, I'm asking you guys to do what's right for you right now. I'm asking you to spend frugally or live frugally and plan like you have no tomorrow, not in scarcity mode, but just plan as though times will get tough. The saying I always tell my boys is it ain't if things happen, it's when they happen. And when problems arise and you're ready for them, they are only an inconvenience. But when problems arise and you're not ready for them, they become bigger than what you've hoped. They become bigger situations. Today's Talks with Ken topic is to fortify your family, show grace to that younger generation, and help them do the right thing with their decision making, even though they don't want to listen sometimes. Help them because you've lived a little bit longer than them, and you owe it to them to live in a right way for yourself. And don't be so naive to believe that a bad situation can arrive at your doorstep. Now, there may be a little hope. If you have a parent that is a part of the baby boomer and the solid generation, there is this thing called the great wealth transfer, in which that will be massively different for everybody. And so they're projecting 84 to 90 trillion dollars in assets to pass down to the younger generation. It said 70% of that will be lost in the second generation, and 90% of that passed down money and assets will be lost in that third generation. So meaning, just because they have it today and able to pass it down to their kids, 70% of that will be wiped out because they won't have that financial literacy that the parents had or the grandparents had to withhold and grow and multiply that fortune. That's very concentrated because those families were able to capitalize on years and years of compounding interest, years of real estate growth in their portfolio. So that they are the outliers. Okay, that's that one shimmering hope. But I always tell you guys, do the right thing because we have to rise above survival. In order to rise above survival, we got to look like a peasant till we can live like a king. You got to be okay with it. Forget what everybody else say. You have to define what the American dream looks like to you. Okay. I hope you guys listened, not just heard, but listened to my message today. I hope you guys put this to use and reach one, teach one, tell those around you. If anyone sees you walking around with a smile doing the right thing, guess what? It will rub off. It will rub off. All right. That's all the time that I have with you guys today. Till next time, this is your boy Ken. Peace.